Alright guys, welcome. So today I'll be going over some basics and fundamentals of market structure. So in this video I'll be going over what a break of structure is as well as a change of character, right? So I'm not going to make this video too long. So I'll first show you some examples on the white clean page over here, and then I will show you example or two on the live candlestick chart as well. So let me not take too much of the time. So a break of structure is basically or a change of character. So a break of structure or a change of character is it's essential for identifying market structure, right? So that a break of structure or a change of character means that, or it signals to us as traders that when we do market analysis, we basically it signals that we are basically looking for a position in which the market is moving, right? So for instance, in this position the market is moving into an uptrend, right? So I'll start off by explaining what a break of structure is, and then I'll explain what a change of character is, right? So let me just remove this once again so I can explain to you clearly. Right, so here we have a push to the upside, right? Price put in place a new high, then pushes back down, puts in place a new low, pushes up again past the previous high that it put in place, right? So price came down, pushed up past the previous high, which was in place before price broke this high again, right? So then price continues, puts in place a new high, pushes back down, puts in place a new low. Once again, price pushes up, breaks the previous high, and then pushes back down. So it's a continuous movement or momentum into one direction, right? So here we clearly have momentum pushing to the upside, right? So taking out previous highs that got put in place, right? So how we identify a break of structure is only if price has taken out the previous high, like so. Only if price has taken out the previous high can we identify a break of structure or a change of character, right? So in this case, this is a high, this is a low, this is a high, this is a low, this is a high as well, and then we have a new low, right? So as you can see, price is clearly moving to the upside, right? So price is creating highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, right? So that's the terminology we use when identifying market structure, right? So in this case over here, we call that a break of structure, right? So let me just label that for you. So we call that a break of structure, right? So the only reason we call that a break of structure is because price pushed, or let me say put in place a new high, and then put in place a new low, and from this low price broke this high again, right? Meaning price took out this previous high over here, right? So price took out this high by putting in place a new high, right? So and then price pushed down and then back up, taking out the previous high, right? So that is essentially how we identify breaks of structures. Right, so let me label this a break of structure. Right, so I hope this is as clear and you guys can understand everything that I'm saying here. The way we identify a break of structure is by a break to the upside of the previous high, right? So price has to break the previous high, put in place a new higher low, and then continue up, breaking the previous high that got put in place as well, right? So a break, that's essentially how we identify a break of structure in markets, right? So let me just label this as well, right? So as you guys can see, momentum is to the upside, right? And we call this order flow. So order flow is clearly showing to us that we are bullish, right? So this is a bullish example. Sorry for that. Let me just write that out for you guys. So this here is bullish momentum, right? So from this low straight up till this high over here. So from this low to this high, we have bullish momentum, right? And every high that gets taken out is called a break of structure, right? So, and the same thing goes for sells or sell side momentum, whichever way you'd like to call it. You can see price is clearly pushing to the downside. Just make a new one over here. Right, so you can see price is moving to the downside. Right, so the same thing here is happening here as well. Just this is just an inverted momentum of this. So except so instead of breaking structure to the upside, we will now be breaking structure to the downside, right? So here, as you can see, price put in place a lower high. Price put in place a lower high, and then price put in place a lower low. Then once again, price put in place a lower high, and then again a lower low, and then a lower high, and then a lower low. Right, so instead of breaking structure to the upside, we will now be breaking structure to the downside, right? So it's basically the same thing that happens on the buy side that happens on the sell side as well. Let me just label this one as well. Right, so on the left side over here we have bullish momentum, and on the right side here we have bearish momentum, right? So in on this side of the market, so there are terminologies for this, right? So this is called bullish, and downside or sell side is called bearish momentum, right? So let's mark out our breaks of structures to the downside, which we call bearish momentum. Breaks of structure to the downside, right? So I hope this is easy to understand. If you do not understand, please let me know so I can explain this in a more clear way. Right, so left side is bullish momentum, right side is bearish momentum, right? So instead of breaking highs here, we are breaking lows, right? So that's why we call this bearish and this bullish. And so I hope everything here was clear to understand. If you guys do not understand, please let me know so I can try my best or do my best to explain it to you in a more easier to understand way. So for now, let's move on to a market shift or a change of character, right? So let's say price is in a bullish run, right? So let's say price is in a bullish run at the moment, and then price suddenly breaks the previous low, right? So like I said, that signals to us that price is ready to either move into a new direction or the trend is weakening, right? So there's either a weakening in the trend or price is now ready to move or shift into a new direction. Right, so let me just label this out for you as well. Alright, so now that I have marked out all the breaks of structures to the upside, let's talk about the previous low and the previous high that got put in place, right? So as you can see, this was the last high, or the last, let me not say the last high, this was the last structure to get broken before price now shifts into a new direction, right? So in this case, we either will be looking at positions into the new direction, which is bears. We will either be looking for trades or positions into the new direction, which is for the bears, or we will wait for a proper bearish momentum to form before we start looking for any trades, right? So let's just talk about the market shift, right? So the very first break of structure is what I call a change of character, right? So that is a change of character, or as some ICT or SMC people call it, a market shift. So I just call it a change of character and a break of structure because this is what I was taught. So I'm just basically explaining the same way that I was taught, right? So I was taught in break of structure and change of character, right? So in this case, we would look for a zone somewhere in here that caused this change of character for a new position to the downside, right? So from here we would look for a position to the downside targeting the previous lows with the stop loss either above the previous high or above the let me say above the level, let me say above the level that caused this low to get taken out, right? So at this point in time we are looking at something like this, and then we will be targeting the previous low that got put in place, right? So this is how we would be looking at a trade from the change of character, right? So I hope this is easy to understand, and once we have the second level that breaks, we will call that a break of structure to the downside, right? So I hope this is easy for everyone to understand. If you do not understand, please let me know so I can explain it in a more simpler, easier way, right? So in this case, we have a bullish example. So now let's look at a bearish example, right? So push to the downside, push to the upside, push to the downside, push to the upside, push to the downside, push to the upside, and then we have our market shift or a change of character, right? So for now, let me just mark out the breaks of structures. Alright, so let me just mark out the breaks of structures. Right, so we've marked out all our breakup structures to the downside, and then the very first breakup structure to the opposite direction, we call that either a market shift or, once again, like I call it, a change of character. Both is really the same thing, just different words for it. So I call that my change of character. Then once again, since we identified a level which is the change of character, we mark out a level that we would like to take a position from into the buy side, right? So from here, we would then be looking for a position into the the buy side of this trade, targeting the previous highs, right? So that is basically all to this is basically everything that you need to know when it comes to breakup structure and change of character. I will go a bit more deeper into all of these things in due time, but for now this is the most important things to understand and how to identify them. So for now, let me show you on the live candlestick chart on how to identify a breakup structure or a change of character, as well as maybe one live example on how to catch a position when looking for a breakup structure or a change of character, right? So let's hop on to the live candlestick charts. Right, so let's see what you can get from here. So just ignore whatever happens here. Just ignore this whole piece. For now, I'll let the replay chart do its thing. And we can identify some key levels from there, right? So, okay. So this is a high. This is a high that got put in place. And this was the low that got put in place as well, right? So I'll mark this out since price took out this previous low. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So this here was a low, this is a high, this is a low. So price took out this previous low, as you can see, it dropped down below this previous low. And we can clearly see that price is in a down momentum, right? Or a down trade or a down momentum. Alright, so let's mark out our breakup structure to the downside. Let's mark out our breakup structure. Let's also mark out our high. And let's play price out. Let's see what we get. Right, so now we have a new low. So over here we have a new low, as well as the very first market shift into the new direction. And that is what we call a change of character. Alright, so that's the very first breakup structure into the opposite direction after we've marked out our highs and our lows. So breakup structure to the downside, change of character to the upside, right? So in this case, I would either identify a key level for me to take a trade from, or a position or a contract, whichever you would like, whichever one you call that. So one other thing is that there is also things called order blocks. So this is my levels that I'm looking at before I will be looking for a contract or a position. And so let's see how price plays out from these locations. Let's pull that a bit more across. And I would be looking for a long position to wherever the high is going to be. stop loss either below this place or below this position, depending on what type of high gets put in place, right? So let's wait and see. Let me just increase the pace or the speed of the candlesticks. So okay, looks like only the order block is going to be filled. So in this type of cases, right guys, so I would take an entry from here, one entry from here, and one entry from the second part of this level, right? So stop loss below the low. And for this, I am going to target, since there is liquidity above here, but that's something I'll get into another video. I'll target these highs over here and mark out this one for my first take profit. So once price reaches here, I'll call it TP. That is where I will close most of my positions or close most of my contracts. And as soon as we can break this high, I will then move to break even, right? So let's call this a break even line. Let's call this line BE, break even. So as soon as we break this high, I will move my positions to break even, BE. And as soon as we can break this high, we'll call that position close or take profit, right? So as you can see over here, we've broken that. So at that point, I will already have moved my trades to break even. Not move it too close. Right, so that is basically just minimizing your losses. So after that, you're running a risk-free trade or a risk-free position. Since this is also BE, BE is also known as break of structure because this is a previous high as well, right? So change of character, break of structure, right? So order block, demand zone, or whichever you call it. Order block, a demand zone, doesn't really matter. Whichever term suits you, you can use that one. And then we have TP, right? So most of my positions at this point in time would be closed or out. And from this point on, I would be looking for a new contract. Alright, so let me show you guys one more example on how we can find ourselves another trade as well, right? So let me slow this down a bit so it can be a bit easier and quicker to understand. Alright, so let's see. Okay, so over here we have a break of structure once again. Let me close, remove all these extra lines so you can understand. Okay, let me just remove this as well. Right, so we have our very first market shift, which we call a change of character. That put in place a new high, dropped below the new high, price moved up again. So like I explained to you before, price came up, price pushed down, break of structure, then price pushed back up, causing a change of character. Then price pushed back down into a level, then caused another break of structure, then pushed back down, and then back up to cause another break of structure, right? So I hope this is easy for you guys to understand. And I'll go a bit more into depth on another video on liquidity or how to find certain positions on where you need to take a trade from, right? So let's go. Let me show you another example before I end this video off on how to identify or how to take another trade from a certain position, right? So from here, I would mark out an order block or another position on where I would be looking to take a trade from. Right, so let's play price out and see how far we get. So as you can see, price dipped into the level that caused the break of structure. So in this case, I would either be targeting the previous high depending on how far the level or the high is that I'm targeting, right? So let's continue. Alright guys, so once again, one other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is that this is the 15-minute time frame, so positions might look a lot shorter than it does when it's on the 5-minute time frame, right? So let me just play this out and see what we get. Alright, so there you go. So like I said, this is the 15-minute time frame and positions do look a lot shorter than when they are on the 15-minute time frame, right? So I hope this made sense to everybody. And if you do or did find this helpful, please drop a like and subscribe for more useful content, right? So let me just play the rest out for you so you can see if this is valid. Alright guys, so if you found this video helpful, please drop a like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.